It's good to have another 15 minutes with you. So today, your boyfriend has asked you to send him nudes. When I was within the ages of 20 to 30, that was, it wasn't an issue. It wasn't an issue, and of course that was about 20 years ago. It was not an issue. Yes, you'd have the random person who might, really be bold enough to want to do things like that, but it wasn't common. It wasn't a common thing. It wasn't a request that you'd get easily, and it wasn't a request too many girls or guys would ordinarily consider. But the world has changed, and this is now a real thing, to the point where we have issues of revenge porn, where a person decides to take compromising photos of somebody they were in a relationship with, and the relationship has now gone sour. They use the pictures they have at their disposal to shame this person, usually online, and it has become a major issue. Without mincing words, I would say it's unwise. It is one of those requests you should not succumb to. So one thing about relationships is this. A relationship, practically every relationship, evolves. Some relationships will improve with time. Others will not, and will gradually die off. I'm sure even marriage, there are marriages that end in divorce. So if even marriage tends to change with time, with the challenges that come as life progresses, and sometimes change to a point where both partners cannot live together anymore, why would you want to take such a very big risk with what would ordinarily be a very temporary relationship? You see, even if this person is very discreet and loves you from the bottom of his heart and would never do anything to harm you, the fact remains that this is digital content. And digital content can be moved very quietly. What if somebody else gets hold of his phone or smart device, sees those pictures there, decides to screenshot them or send the pictures to their own smart device, and then proceed to do with it whatever they like? In quite a number of instances, that was what happened. It wasn't even as if the person, the original owner or the original person the content was sent to, they were not the ones who publicized the content. On a number of occasions, these people have, washed their hands off the content appearing in public anywhere and seem genuinely surprised. So once that content leaves your smart device and goes out through the internet to another person's device, you're putting yourself at risk. I remember the very first instance of this I stumbled upon, I think this would be about maybe 15 to 20 years ago in Nigeria. It was a scandal. It was quite a scandal at the time because smartphones were still pretty much a novelty, laptops. They were not as commonplace then as they are today. And this particular lady, I think she was an actress, who incidentally, she was even married. No, she wasn't married at the time that problem occurred, but the person she was in the relationship with later married her. I don't know if they're still together. And she had all these compromising, in fact, they hadn't even sent anything anywhere. She just had them, I think, in her laptop at the time. So she had compromising pictures of herself and her partner, you know, in various intimate positions. There were pictures of herself full-on nude and so on and so forth. Back then it was a huge scandal. But what happened was that particular device, I think it was a laptop if I recall, it developed a fault and she took it for repairs, very innocently, you know. You would not expect that you take a gadget for repairs and this person now goes the extra mile to start digging through your content, but apparently that was what happened. And this person was able to steal this content from her smart device and proceeded to try to blackmail her with those very compromising pictures. And that was the first time that I, for one, encountered that situation here in Nigeria. And to her credit, she called his bluff. I think he was asking for an outrageous amount of money. It's also possible she didn't have that kind of money, or maybe she did have it and she decided to damn the consequences and refused to be blackmailed. So whatever the thing was, whether she didn't have money or she just decided not to pay up, she refused to subject herself to blackmail, dared him to do whatever it was he wanted to do, and those pictures wound up published in all the gossip magazines at the time. Now, I don't recall how that ultimately was resolved. I don't know if the media houses that published those photos got sued. I don't know how, but I do know that it was quite a scandal. Quite a bit of, you know, face lost. And she did have a bit of name recognition at the time because, like I said, she was an actress. The good thing was the person she was with in those pictures ended up marrying her. I hope they're still together. But that was way back then. And from what I've described to you, there was no malice from her partner. But those pictures wound up out in the public where she didn't want them to be, because somebody else saw an opportunity where he thought he could make some quick money. Unfortunately, it fell flat and he decided to do what he did. It's really not the kind of content. I know when you're in your 20s, you might not necessarily be thinking of what your life would be like in another 20 years. Many of you at this age just want to live for the moment. You know, you want to relax, have a good time, enjoy yourself, and that's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with it. But then you live in the moment so much that you forget to think about consequences. Consequences don't come to your mind. You just do this thing and you move on. You just do this thing and you move on. And some of these things that you do are things that linger on and follow you through life and pop up when you least expect them to pop up, and pop up in places you don't want them to pop up. Many of these things that some of you might get involved in at this point, thinking, oh, it's just this particular time frame in my life, just this particular point of time in my life. These are things that could follow you and become a big problem later on. So don't do it. And if possible, I mean, make it known to him that, you know, it's not something you're comfortable doing. And if he's the kind of person who gets upset and, oh, yeah, well, don't. There are any number of girls who will send. Well, let those girls send. Don't be the one to, you know, don't be part of that mess. Just don't. If that's a condition that he's giving for you to remain in the relationship with him, well, then maybe you want to reconsider your options. You're not married. You can lose him. Stop putting the young men you date, who are usually your peers and also don't know much about anything, stop putting them on a pedestal and worshipping them and making them feel like they're all that and 3 cups of cake. No. If he's a very nice person and he treats you well, okay, well, that's good. But a young man who has his wits about him and who is genuinely concerned about you as a person will be more inclined toward thinking about your academics, or if you're already done with school, how are things going on at home? How's your job search going? Hey, I saw this vacancy. Is it something you're interested in? Is this something you feel up to? Why don't we go watch a movie somewhere? Do you want to come to my house? Wholesomeness. The kinds of guys you should allow to continue to remain in your space are people who are wholesome, people who have shown that they care, they genuinely, when somebody cares about you now. You've been ill, you're on admission. Maybe you've been in hospital for a week, and this person barely managed to send you a text once, and it's not like he has been kidnapped or the world fell down on his head or he was involved in a car crash. He doesn't care, essentially. Most of us can tell when somebody cares about us. But no matter how much this person is showing you affection, how nice, kind, warm, what all the adjectives, all the sweet, sweet adjectives this person is, if they're asking you for things that could compromise your future, don't succumb. The person that wants you to take 2-3 weeks out of the school calendar to travel with him to some random place, well, that's exciting. I mean, it's not like so many people enjoy studies anyway. It can be pretty tedious. Yeah, so a break from all of that is welcome. But why does it have to be in the middle of the semester if this guy really cares about you? Be careful. And particularly when you're in relationships, think about yourself all the time. Think about your self-interest. This is not me asking you to be selfish and never consider the other person's feelings. No. I'm looking at it from the same perspective, from a Christian perspective, so to speak. I'm sure many of us are familiar with the verse in the Bible that says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now, if you take those words, if you interrogate that sentence, as you love yourself, meaning you are called to love yourself. It is important to love yourself. And if you love yourself, what do? You act in your own best interest at all times. You'll have plenty of time to do all the self-sacrifice and everything when you marry. While you're dating, keep your wits about you. Do not sabotage yourself. Some of you, in a bid to keep a young man around, will begin to get involved in sexual acts that only people who earn a living out of that kind of thing ordinarily do. But here you are doing all these things, bending yourself over backwards, literally, to please some young man who might just be 1 or 2 years older than you and really doesn't know his left from right either, because you want to keep him around. You're taking compromising pictures of yourself. You're allowing yourself to get into all kinds of very compromising, intimate positions. You are allowing him to introduce you to lifestyles that will not promote your self-growth. You're sabotaging yourself. Don't do that for anybody. And I would say don't even do that in marriage. Don't even do that in marriage. Don't sabotage yourself for your partner. Because a good partner will want you to grow. A good partner will want good things for you. Because a good partner knows that if you're strong and he is strong, you create an unbeatable force together. So when you meet a guy who keeps finding ways to make you compromise yourself, the sooner you can get your wits around you and leave, the better. But whatever you do, don't send him those nudes.